Coming up on this episode of DL Weekly, a slew of Disneyland's 70th news, a classic attraction gets an update, extra magic for guests caught in the rain.
Captain America brings new treats to Avengers Campus, a wishing well loses its top, we talk to Walt Disney World VIP Tour cast member Les, and more. DL Weekly starts now.
Buenos dias, señorita. My siestas are getting shorter and shorter. Oh, look at all the people listening. Welcome to DL Weekly's Enchanted Podcast. Hey, Tag and Teresa, mi amigos. Pay attention, it's showtime.
Hello and welcome to this episode of DL Weekly for the week of February 19th, 2025. I'm Tag Bushman.
And I'm Community Manager Olivia Sands. We would like to thank everyone who supports the show. This week, we would like to give a special shout out to Alex W., Eric J., Josh S., and Brandon H. If you would like to help support the show and get ad-free versions of each episode, access to our supporter-only chat, and a bunch of other perks, head on over to dlweekly.net/support and become an official weekly tier.
And just to mention it, because people will ask, Teresa is out this week because she is in Arizona dealing with family stuff. So she will be back next week. I will be gone next week because I am going to be in Disneyland with producer James and our exchange student and Universal, not just Disneyland. So we'll have a trip report from that when I come back. Now, let's get to the news.
Extra, extra, read all about it. DL Weekly reports from intrepid correspondents Tag and Teresa. You heard it here first, ladies and gents. Breaking news!
As the march towards the launch of Disneyland's 70th anniversary continues, the Disney Parks blog posted an update for the celebration. The new Walt Disney A Magical Life attraction has been delayed until the official birthday of July 17th. Rumors have suggested that there have been some more tweaking of the show to make it perfect for guests. Again, in case you don't know what this is the animatronic show that is going into the Opera House where Abe Lincoln is, and after the 70th anniversary is over, they will alternate it between this and Lincoln.
I did see this update this week, and honestly, it's something I don't mind. I'm not going to the parks between May and July, so I think maybe if you had a trip booked and you were really looking forward to seeing this, it's a bummer. But this feels really significant and really important, and I know Tag and Teresa have covered. There's been some things with it in the past too, right? And I know they're really trying to make this good, it sounds like, for everybody. And so if they need those extra 2 months to do that, personally, fully in support. Like, let's get this right. Let's do it right the first time. Let's get it exactly how it is. If we need a little delay, that's okay. This feels too important and too significant to not get it right on the first time.
I totally agree. This is the first time there's going to be a Walt animatronic somewhere. And we did talk to an Imagineer at the D23 Ultimate Fan event over the summer. And he said that he has seen it and it is spectacular. And so I hope that they are doing whatever they need to do to make sure that it is spectacular when it launches. Now, I've also seen, we don't have it in the news because it's not that interesting, I guess, but I've seen that the animatronics at Tiana's Bayou Adventure have been kind of acting up. And so I'd rather not have an acting up Walt Disney animatronic. I'd rather have one that's going to be working, especially for the 70th anniversary. And like I said, it's the man, right? It'd be like an animatronic of Mickey Mouse. Like, you got to make it work. And so I think it's going to be very important. And I feel the more I think about this experience and what it's going to be, the more I feel like I'm watching this, like my hair is going to stand up on the back of my neck kind of thing when I see this, because I think it's going to be amazing. It's going to be the closest thing I think anybody gets to, who hasn't ever met Walt Disney, to meeting Walt Disney. And I think that that's going to be crazy if they can pull it off.
I agree. And I'm curious to see when this opens, how long the lines are going to be, because generally this is an attraction that does not often have a long line. I don't know how many people the theater holds, but it's a pretty good sized theater. So I think as we're going to continue to talk about things, there's a lot going on in this building moving forward, and we'll see how it shakes out. But July 17th is obviously a very significant date as well. So I think maybe it'd be a little bit of a bummer if that was the original date and they were kind of pushing it to a random date, but it'll be great when it happens.
According to Wikipedia, the theater can hold 500 people.
Look, I mean, that's not insignificant by any means.
Yeah. So depending on how long the thing is, dictates how many, the ridership. Obviously, it's not going to be as many people as, It's a Small World or something like that, being able to crank people through. But yeah, and I think it'll be just like anything else. I think it'll be really popular in the beginning, and then I think it'll die down to a normal level. I think it'll still get a lot more people than I think Lincoln, but I think that, the first few days are going to be outrageous and ridiculous trying to get in, but then I think afterwards, and if it's really as amazing as everybody thinks it's going to be, I think that there'll be a lot of people going back to watch it multiple times just to even if you don't care about the story that's being told or whatever, just seeing an amazing animatronic because, like the Navi River journey, that's that attraction out in Animal Kingdom. People are like, meh, it's okay. But people ride it multiple times because the shaman animatronic is so dang cool. So I think this will be one of those situations.
In addition to the new show, the lobby of the Opera House will have an experience featuring the evolution of Walt's dream for Disneyland. Images, art, and artifacts, some never seen before, will be on display. The next area will be dedicated to the story and history of audio animatronics. Finally, some artifacts from the Walt Disney Family Museum will be on display, including items from Walt's apartment, humanitarian accolades, and more.
So this is really exciting because if you're waiting for the show and maybe there is a line or something, you'll be able to kind of see this pre-show, if you will. And I like the idea that it's going to be talking about bringing the park to life. We've seen some of this before. During the 50th, they had a model there of Walt's Dream Disneyland kind of thing. And they had, of course, they had a video with Steve Martin in it that was pretty, and Donald Duck, can't forget Donald Duck, that was pretty good. And the fact that there's going to be some stuff from the Walt Disney Family Museum, which some of it will be from Walt's private apartment, that will include an original rocking chair, lamp, and table, all of which have never been publicly exhibited at Disneyland before. So obviously, if you go on the tour, Walk in Walt's Footsteps tour, you can go up into the apartment, but some of these items have been rotated out, I guess, over the years. And so you'll get to see the ones that were there when Walt was there. So that should be really cool. And then, of course, audio animatronics, come on.
And Disney does a really good job with these displays in the Opera House. I walked through the one for the 100th celebration, and for us Disney nerds, we love to see a lot of the behind the scenes and sometimes the never before seen footage. And I know they put a lot of time, effort, and love into this. So excited to see it. And again, Disneyland is very much a locals park. So it'll be nice for people who are there regularly to check it out, to have something new to see. The Walt Disney Family Museum is fantastic. We went through it about a year ago, I believe. And my idea going in was that it was going to be very Disneyland focused, and it actually was a really nice picture of his whole lifetime. And it sounds like we might get a litlittle bit more of that background in addition to some park things. So I'm really excited to see what they pull from there.
Yeah. The accolades, they've got a little list here of some of the accolades that they're going to have shown. They're going to have the Walt's 1955 Emmy for the Walt Disney Disneyland TV show. That's totally appropriate. His Presidential Medal of Freedom that he got from President Johnson in 1964. And the Walt Disney Commemorative Medal presented to Lillian Disney by President Nixon in 1969. So those are all going to be kind of neat things, I think, to see. At the Walt Disney Family Museum, like you were talking about, on display there was the Oscars. When I was there, the Oscars were on display, so all the 7 dwarf Oscars with the one regular size Oscar. That was really cool to see. So I think this will be neat to see, too. That really, I feel like it doesn't get shown around very much, so that'll be really cool.
And I like, kind of on a side note too, I don't know a ton of history on the Walt Disney Family Museum, but again, another area that you can tell a lot of effort, energy, love has been put into. So I'm glad that maybe people who are, middle of the road Disney fans will get to see what they have to offer and maybe have a chance to visit sometime if they're ever up in the Bay too.
Yeah. And I think in general, I think the more things that they can do in the theme parks to show off the history of the company and the man, especially, because I feel like nowadays that a lot of younger people especially probably have no idea that Walt was a person. They think the Walt Disney Company and they just it's the company, or it's just Disney, right? And so I think the best opportunity to educate people on the man and the history is in the parks, where people are going to go and then they kind of learn something. Now, Are the people that come to the park necessarily going to be the people who are like, oh, let's go check out this opera house exhibit or whatever? Maybe not. But I do think people will learn stuff. I remember every time I've seen a display in the parks, there's always been somebody around that's kind of like, oh, I didn't know that. Or, oh, that's really interesting. So, myself included. Well, after leaving the Walt Disney A Magical Life show, the exit lobby will have previews of projects and how Disneyland will move forward in the years ahead. So hopefully this will have some stuff with the expansion with Avengers Campus. Hopefully this will have some stuff with Disneyland Forward, baby. So just the future of the resort, I think. They kind of have a little exhibit like this now, which I feel like is older, because I want to say the last time we looked, it had like Galaxy's Edge and like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, and both of those things have like concluded a long time ago, so not really future anymore. So I'm excited to see what they end up showing off and what we get new information on, maybe.
Me too. And they used to have a blue sky cellar. I don't know if that's what it was called, over in DCA. Yeah. And I think now it's a DVC club. And I always loved walking in there because you can obviously see with the internet most of the stuff on Instagram, most of the stuff online now, but sometimes they have actual physical models in there or some actual drawings. And it's a little bit different than just looking at it on a computer screen. So I agree. It's fun to just kind of get a taste. And obviously we've got a lot coming in the next 5, 10, 15 years. And so if they do continue to keep that fresh, I think it'll be fun for people to actually lay eyes on what's going to happen.
I'm with you. I love when they have like models or even like pictures, like concept art, because I can like I can get closer and it's not going to get pixelated, and I can like spend the amount of time I want looking at it. Because sometimes they put these things on Instagram like in a reel, and you have to like pause the screen, and you can't really zoom in, and you're trying to look at something and it goes by so quick. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And models and stuff are cool because it's sometimes without seeing a physical representation. A great example of this for me was when Teresa and I went to Walt's barn. They had a model of what the area where the pack mules were. And I never, from all the pictures I've seen, all the video I've seen, I've never understood how that all kind of was configured until I saw this model. And then I was like, oh, this makes more sense because I can see it in 3D and I can get an idea of how close things were and how far away things were and, what the shapes were. Where, like I said, I've seen videos and pictures and I've seen concept art, but I never understood how it like laid out until I saw that. So maybe they'll have something like that. We can hope.
And you think the concept art, I mean, I've never seen an ugly picture of concept art in my life. They are beautiful, right? They're colorful. They're amazing, but it's really hard to tell. And sometimes I think they throw in little nuggets like, hey, this will be somewhere. We'll just kind of throw it in the photo because it's concept art, right? But when you get to see the models, then you can actually see the layout of maybe kind of what they're thinking and spacing and things like that. And I think it adds another layer of this is what's actually coming next.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Also announced was a fairly major update to It's a Small World. Shortly before Richard Sherman, who, along with his brother Robert, wrote many songs and lyrics to classic Disney tunes, passed away last year, he wrote a new verse for the iconic song in the attraction. This new verse will debut in the attraction starting July 17th. If you want to hear Richard tell you all about it, you can watch The Last Verse, a short film we have linked in the show notes. The short film will also be playing in the Main Street Cinema for the 70th anniversary.
So I wrote this and then I went and watched it again and I realized he doesn't talk about it. There was a video of him talking about it that was shown at the D23 Expo. He was talking to Bob Iger. I'm going to find that video if I can, and I'm going to put that link in the show notes. The last verse is it kind of had that same feel of the animation, or that, do you remember they had that like short where like they went around the studio and all the animated characters are coming out of the pictures and doing everything? It had that feel because they do a really cool job in this video of going into the hallway of one of the buildings at the studio, and the camera kind of turns to a photo on the wall, and it's Richard and Robert Sherman at the piano with Walt. And as they get closer to it, it turns into the video of them talking about it. And then when they're done, it kind of like comes out and it goes down the way again. And then it kind of does like another photo. It's just really well done. And I was just like, man, whoever's producing these things, it's just amazing, the creativity in this stuff. So I'll see if I can find the one with Richard Sherman and Bob Iger.
Yeah, I'll have to watch it. That's funny. I was going to say on a little side tangent, the shorts that they're putting on Disney Plus, that Once Upon a Studio short is probably my favorite piece of animation to ever come out of Disney. I think it's so well done. So I can't wait to watch the last verse. And this is a pretty major update to a very classic attraction. And I got a little teary-eyed watching the short video that Disney put out, because how amazing is it that, somebody who had such an impact on Disney and the music, and, I think a lot of memories of what people think of today when they think of Disneyland as his, towards the very end of his life, as a final parting gift, wrote some more lyrics. I just thought that was so beautiful, so heartfelt, something he obviously did not need to do, is my guess, and really wanted to give a little bit of a passing gift. So I love it.
I just can't believe the talent between these two brothers, and that so much music that we know and love from Disney came from these two, and it just flowed out of them, right? Like, I'm trying to think of, in my life, like, is there anything that flows through me like that flows through them, like it's crazy. Kind of tangentially related, we watched our friends, we were playing some board games with some friends last weekend, and they had there's a YouTube channel where they bring in drummers from different bands, and they play them a track that they've never heard before, but it's like a popular song, but without the bass, and they have to do it, like they have to fill in the bass part. And we were watching a couple episodes of this, and I commented to James, I said, what's amazing? You could see in their eyes when they're doing this, that they see the music and they feel it. And it's like the music passes through them to their extremities to make noise. And it was the first time I've really, now people who perform music, they probably have, they know this, but it was kind of a revelation for me to see somebody talented in this way, and it just, like, they are a vessel for the music to come out. And that's how I feel like the Sherman Brothers were, for sure. It's just, they were so good. A lot of the Mary Poppins music, of course, It's a Small World, Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow, like all of these things that they came up with that are so catchy and iconic. And, I think things would be so different if those two didn't work with Disney. It's just nuts.
For sure. And you think too, I know people have a hard time sometimes with It's a Small World because the song repeats over and over, right? And just kind of the tempo and the melody. But I heard them once do it as a lullaby, or I've heard it as a lullaby. And when you really look at the lyrics, they are beautiful lyrics that they wrote. And I know, you can't have a lullaby on a however long attraction, Small World is, but you look at this new verse: Mother Earth unites us in heart and mind, and the love we give makes us humankind. Through our vast, wondrous land, when we stand hand in hand, it's a small world after all. Like, that's, I mean, in my opinion, that's beautiful. I mean, those are beautiful lyrics, and in this world, something I think we need more than ever. And so, just like you said, the impact they have, the music they wrote at a high level and entertainment and really deep level, the lyrics they wrote is pretty phenomenal.
Yeah. And I just pulled up the lyrics to just regular It's a Small World. And what gets annoying is the It's a Small World after all part. But there's these sections that are just so great. So since we read that, I'm just going to read the couple here. It's a world of laughter, a world of tears, a world of hopes, and a world of fears. There's so much that we share that it's time we're aware that it's a small world after all. So it's like, we're all like the same. Like we always find and focus on the things that divide us when we should really focus on the things that bring us together. And then the other part is there's just one moon and one golden sun, and a smile means friendship to everyone. Though the mountains divide and the oceans are wide, it's a small world after all. And I'm like, that's so true. And this was written back, in the 60s. It's just crazy.
Totally. I think this will be an attraction that, for those, again, big fans who know that these lyrics are coming in, I know I usually ride Small World when I'm there. It's not the first attraction I run to, but this will definitely be on my list next time to hear this new verse.
Yeah, I'm sad because it's under refurbishment when we're there, which is sad. That and the monorail and the train, I'm very sad about all three of these things because I wanted Alex to experience them, but oh well. I think producer Vern would think, oh good, he gets to miss It's a Small World. So
that's so funny. We went in We went in December and it was holiday, and my mom usually goes. She unfortunately didn't make it, and I was with one friend, and he knows that my mom forces everybody to go on the ride, and so he goes, "This is my 1 year. You don't have to go on this. I'm gonna skip it this time."
But the holiday version's great because it rotates with a bunch of like holiday stuff. I don't know. I like the holiday version.
I do too.
Guests who brave Disneyland in the rain are getting a little extra magic recently. Well, when it rains, the parade is usually replaced by a rainy day cavalcade. Well, currently, there is no parade going on during the day, but the cavalcade does perform. So if you want a little extra entertainment for your Disney dollars, a rainy day could be a good option. This makes me hope that it rains one of the days we're there.
I love this. This is the definition of Disney magic, right? Like, hey, let's take a maybe little less than ideal situation and we'll give you a little extra magic. This is something I have never seen. I have been there on rainy days, but never seen this. So this might be my new bucket list. Have to go on a Disney rainy day to see this little cavalcade.
And what's crazy about Disneyland in the rain is I think it's really fun in the rain. Now, if you can get over the fact that you're going to be wet and just make peace that like you're going to be wet, lines, wait times, so short. Food, super easy to get. There's usually plenty of seating. Like the locals, like you'd think that the locals are made of sugar because like they just do not come out when it rains. And an experience that I recommend for anybody is to ride the Incredicoaster when it rains. I love being in the front row and you get pelted in the face with the rain. There's just something exhilarating about it. And I have fond memories of being at Disneyland for we were there for one of the New Year's years. And I remember it was pouring rain one of the days. And we rode what was then California Screamin', but is now the Incredicoaster. And we just loved it. And there's some things that are down. You know, Alice, the teacups, like those things don't run. Storybook Land, a lot of Fantasyland, right? That's out in the open. But everything else is still open and you can ride. And then you get things like Tiana's where it's like, you know, you're going to get red anyway. So just ride it and enjoy.
Exactly. With the premiere of Captain America, Brave New World, new food, drink, and merchandise arrived at Avengers Campus. At Pym's Test Kitchen, you can pick up a Red Gamma Gulp, which is a red velvet cold brew with cream cheese cold foam, or a Red Rage Wings, which are spicy wings tossed in habanero sauce and served with potato bites and ranch dressing. At Pym's Tasting Lab, there is a Liberty Punch, a Litmus Lemonade with blue Hawaiian and topped with citrus meringue foam. At Shawarma 2, a pepperoni and cheese pizza pocket is available. Both have mozzarella, house-made marinara sauce, and wrapped in empanada dough. Finally, there's a Captain America Shield sipper at Pym's Test Kitchen.
So I think it was Disney Food Blog this week, their headline for the pizza pockets at Shawarma 2, they're like, did Disney just reinvent a like Hot Pocket?
People love Hot Pockets, though.
They are good. And this has given me the same vibe that like the pizza flopovers did in Toontown, where I was like, I need to try this. And then it was like so good. The picture that is shared at the link in the show notes on Mice Chat is from Disney. And it looks so golden brown. And it's got this like sauce with like some seasoning. I just want to like lick it. It looks so good.
And honestly, they might have learned from the pizza flopover because this is fully enclosed. I remember we talked about the flopover, kind of the one hard thing was it was difficult to eat. So maybe they just said, hey, we know people love this. Let's put it in the other park and make it the flopover 2.0. It looks delicious.
Flopover 2.0.
Is this going to be on your list for your trip?
Probably. I'm also tempted now. I am not Teresa, so I am not the cold brew person. But I do kind of get this idea that perhaps the red velvet cold brew might be something that I might enjoy. It sounds like it would be a little bit sweeter, and I always love the more sweet things. I love red velvet. Cream cheese cold foam sounds really good. So all of that kind of sounds good. The one thing I definitely will not be trying is the Red Rage wings because that sounds way too spicy for me. So that's not going to happen.
Yeah, you might like this cold brew, and the reason I say that is this cold brew is not brown. This cold brew is red, which makes me think it is mostly red velvet base rather than a coffee base. I'm with you. I'm not a spicy person, and these wings look hot. So if you like spicy, this actually might be a fun change of events for you to try, but not for me personally. And this shield sipper is awesome. I'm not a sipper kind of person. I think it is a great idea. I don't know how realistic it is, but A+ on the creativity and imagination on the sipper.
I've heard or seen online that this is a very popular item, and people, like tons of people, are walking around with them. So I assume that it like is one of, like, you put your hand behind it and you're like sipping it. So I guess we'll just have to see. I'm sure we'll see it around the park for sure when we're there. So
these things always make me laugh, because as we usually do, of the ride focused group, like, what do you do with this when you go on an attraction? I'm just thinking of somebody like strapped into the Incredicoaster, like holding their shield at the same time.
Right. Well, I learned the hard way when I bought my lightsaber that like the Matterhorn, they said, well, your group can ride, and then when your group comes back, you hand it off to them, and then you ride. And it's like, okay. Because they don't really have a spot to put that stuff, right? So maybe it would be like that too. James was actually just talking about this, how I think it's a question that was on, oh gosh, was it a hub crawl that is coming up, or a previous hub crawl maybe, that was like, what is something, I think it was last hub crawl, what is something that another theme park does better than Disney? And James said storage bins on like roller coasters, because like Six Flags and stuff, they all have them, but Disney doesn't really have them.
Even just little side tangent, areas for lockers, right? This happened to us in December. We walked past the lockers, and then we were 30 minutes into the day, and I was like, I'm not going back to Main Street to put stuff in the lockers. So obviously very convenient if they are by attractions, but even if they just had some more spread throughout the park, I think that would be helpful too.
Yeah. Well, an unexpected but welcome update has come to Snow White's Wishing Well. The roof of the well has been taken down and appears to be returning after refurbishment. I saw this in our friend David from Fresh Bake's video, because he was walking through and he is like, does a double take, and he's like, what is going on? And then is like, where is the roof?
This made me laugh this week. I saw this on Instagram too, and it is just something you look at and you're like, what the heck? This doesn't look like this. This doesn't belong. So I'm glad that it's getting the update or the refurb that it needs. But it is a little funny to me that Disney put nothing around it. I mean, I guess it still operates as a well, right? It is just very apparent that there should be something over it. Yeah.
Well, I feel like usually they'll like put a wall around it, but I'm like, well, I guess somebody did complain in the comments on SnackChat that it was this way for Valentine's Day, and they're like, it's like the most romantic spot in the park. Why couldn't they have just waited? Who knows?
Makes me think that it was maybe something that was fairly urgent then to take care of.
Sure. Hey, I like the fact that they're taking care of the park. I just wish they would be consistent with it, because I feel like what happens is we go through this lovely period where everything's super maintained, usually around a big anniversary, and then we hit a few years of like, oh, we could just let everything languish, and then they have to do this all again. So wish they would just keep it like a rolling update through the park of constantly keeping stuff up, so they wouldn't have to go through this every few years. But whatever, money, right?
Hopefully for the next 5, 6, 7 years, we do get this though, because I think the 70th anniversary is 18 months or so long, and then we're not going to be that far off from 75, and I anticipate 75 will be big. So I'm fingers crossed optimistic that we're getting a good little time frame of high levels of Disney magic.
Yeah, I think 75 is going to be huge.
Yep.
I up, down, touch the ground. I think of things to chew, like honey and milk and chocolate. With a hefty, happy appetite, I'm a hefty, happy poo. A rumbly in my tumbly means it's time for snacks.
Well, this week for SnackChat, Olivia reminded me today as we were talking about this that the 3 times she has co-hosted with me, there has been a foodie guide that has come out, and it has happened again. The Food and Wine Festival foodie guide dropped, and so we have some wonderful selections that we have pulled out to share with you. It's kind of a lackluster food and wine foodie guide, I would say, overall. What would you say?
Yeah, I think in this point, Disney might be a little bit of victim of their own success. We have had phenomenal. I mean, like, who stole the show in 2024? The Disney culinary team. They can have every award in the books. The food was fantastic. The guides. I mean, I felt like every 2 weeks we were getting a foodie guide, right? And at some point, that feels a little unattainable. And so maybe I'm wondering, with everything happening, and maybe this is leading up to hopefully the 70th, maybe we've got some big things coming for then too. Feels like they scaled back a little bit. I mean, this is still a hefty foodie guide for sure, but surprised, I guess, and not surprised maybe at the same time.
Sure. So let's just go down the list here. Is there anything that you have that shows up on the Parks blog post before garlic kissed? My first thing that I have is garlic kissed. So do you have anything from the craft brews or the Cluckle-Doodle Moo?
I do not. The items look good. This is a pretty heavy meat menu. And I don't eat meat. And so there seem to be 1 or 2 options at each booth and not a ton of veggie options, which is okay. There's a lot of veggie options in the park now. So we can start at garlic kissed.
Sure. Well, Garlic Kissed has a new item, which is the sirloin Gruyere mac and cheese with black garlic chimichurri and garlic butter crunch. And this is happening. I am getting this. I'm not a fan of like the little pepper that they put on top. I'll just like push that off to the side. But the rest of it looks good. And even if I end up not liking it, James is there. He's a huge mac and cheese person. So I know it's going to be just fine.
On the beverages, the Huckleberry Citrus Cooler caught my eye. It's huckleberry and agave syrups, grapefruit soda, lemon and orange juices, and Gold Peak black tea garnished with an orange wedge. Sounds like it could be a little sweet, but we've got the citrus in there as well. And this sounds pretty refreshing if it's a warmer day.
Yeah. So, yes, filling in for Teresa when it comes to drinks is definitely Olivia, because I don't think I maybe put 1 drink on here. Actually, I'm looking through the list. I don't think I put 1 drink. I put 1 drink.
There you go. A lot of the drinks overall, I would say, have more of like a citrus or almost like a tropical feel. That's kind of in my flavor category. I do really like those. A lot of alcoholic options in that category too. And generally those tend to be a little sweeter. So I think I would definitely try things on this list. I would just have to limit it because they could get really sweet really fast.
Yeah. Did you have anything from Golden Dreams?
I just appreciated at Golden Dreams, there's a masubi fried rice, and that's Aulani Resort inspired steamed rice with egg, glazed spiced ham, umami mayo, and furikake. And I just like that we're throwing some Aulani in there. I think that's kind of fun.
I looked at this, and I'm not the hugest ham person. If somebody is with us, like if James or Alex want to try this, I would gladly take a bite. I just don't want to jump into doing it. Like, I don't want a whole serving myself. The picture looks good. And actually, when I first looked at it, I thought maybe it was like tuna. Like, it had that coloring of like tuna, but then it was like, oh, because I was like, oh, it's like glazed spice ham. Okay.
Up here in the Pacific Northwest, we actually see a lot of Spam musubi. That's a somewhat common food at, I'll just say, like, events in general. And it is always the first to go. One of our ballparks serves it, and it's usually gone 30 minutes before first pitch even. Like, you have to get there early to get it. So I'm curious to see if they can keep this in stock, and if it's I have a feeling it might be a fan favorite of the event. I'm curious to see how it tastes.
I will wait to hear about it. At LA Style, I had to put down, because I'm a huge fan of bao buns in general, and they have a Western barbecue burger bao with sweet barbecue sauce, Neskie's Applewood smoked bacon, and crispy onions. This is new this year, again at LA Style. Ugh.
Looks good. I feel like they've been doing more. They'll do a bao bun or something of that sort at these festivals, and they seem to have pretty good reviews overall.
I don't know. It's a texture thing for me. I love the bao texture. Same thing with, what are the little sandwich? Is that also kind of a bao, or like, what is that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do, and I'm totally blanking on what it's called.
That's right, okay. Not the end of the world. I think it's another type of like, it's bao-like. But it's like more like a taco instead of being like a sealed up like dumpling is the best way I can describe it.
Yep.
I have stuff at the Mercado de Antojos, I assume is how that's pronounced. I apologize in advance for being a terrible person who can't pronounce anything that's not plain English. And most of the time I screw that up too.
I am not a huge horchata fan in general, but this one sounds pretty good. We've got raspberry, almond, and cinnamon syrups, rice pudding, milk and condensed milk garnished with skewered raspberries. That flavor combo just sounds really yummy to me. And then again, on the refreshing beverages, the watermelon cucumber mojito is a white rum with watermelon liqueur, mojito, and cucumber syrups, watermelon puree, and lime juice topped with Topo Chico, garnished with watermelon and tahini twist. So just sounds, again, it could be like a refreshing beverage if it's a nice warm day and you're wandering through the park.
The raspberry horchata was the one drink I had on my list. The other options at this spot I like. I think this is kind of like a winning booth for me. They have the birria mac and cheese with onion, cilantro sauce, and tortilla crunch. That looks really good. They also have a Café de Hoja Tres Leches cake, which is a Café de Hoja infused tres leches topped with piloncillo chantilly, cinnamon, and a Mickey-shaped cookie. This, I don't know. It looks really good, so I'm hoping. Do you have anything at any of the other booths?
Not,
which I guess is just Uncorked California.
Yeah, nothing at Uncorked or at Pepper's Caliente.
Ooh. So at Aunt Cass's Cafe, I've got the burrata toast, which is toasted sourdough, onion, jam, burrata, tomatoes, arugula, and balsamic glaze. That looks good. It just looks like a piece of bread with a bunch of stuff on it. And I'm like, that sounds like something I would eat. So I'm very excited to
It's like an open face grilled cheese, almost.
Yeah. But it's got like salad stuff on it because it's got arugula and tomatoes. I'm very excited for it.
It looks delicious in this photo, especially if they do it on the fresh bread that they make, which I'm sure they will.
Oh, yeah. And then I don't have anything else until Clarabelle's. Do you have anything from Award Wieners or Boardwalk or Cappuccino Cart?
Yeah, at the Boardwalk Pizza and Pasta, again, sticking with a tropical theme, they've got a pineapple and coconut cheesecake, which is a coconut cheesecake topped with pineapple jam, pineapple mousse, and a maraschino cherry. So it sounds a little bit like a pina colada cheesecake type of dish.
I don't know why I didn't put this on the list. I think my mood when I went through this was like, meh. But now you're talking about it, I'm like, I don't know. I like pineapple and I like coconut. Mm-hmm. That could be good. I know that our exchange student might get this. They also at Boardwalk Pizza and Pasta have a smoked Hawaiian pizza, which is a spicy marinara, smoked mozzarella, glazed ham, and charred pineapple, which I think he's probably going to want to try that. So I have to sit down and go through some of this stuff with him maybe tomorrow and make sure we have him pick a list of stuff that he wants to try as well. James and I have already made a list of off the top of our heads of the normal Disneyland food, like a Bengal barbecue skewer and a Dole Whip and like a churro. But like, we got to come back and get like the specialty food stuff.
Well, it's good to make a list too, because a little bit different. You mostly know the fan favorites or your favorites at the normal or the permanent locations. But with these festival ones, it's really easy to walk past something that's on your list. So it's good to get organized ahead of time.
Yeah. At Clarabelle's Hand Scooped Ice Cream, I put the strawberry shortcake. I'm a sucker for strawberry shortcake. This has angel food cake, vanilla ice cream, strawberry syrup, whipped topping, and fresh strawberries. Oh, this sounds so... I love strawberry shortcake.
Count me in. It's a great dessert.
And then I don't have something until almost the end of the list. Do you have anything else from...
My next one's at Paradise Garden Grill.
Oh, good choice. Okay.
So Paradise Garden Grill, a couple options. The first is the Esquites loaded chips, which is chili lime chips smothered in corn kernels, cojita cheese, chili, lime seasoning, and crema. We had this. This is an item from December, actually, from the festival then. So this was one that... Actually, I don't know if it was a part of the festival or maybe just on the regular menu now that I'm thinking about it, but it was delicious. So it's a bag of chips and they cut the top off. So like I think other people call it like a walking taco things. Yeah. Yeah. So a little bit on the spicier side, not too spicy, but this was really good in December. So I highly recommend if you want a salty, creamy, portable kind of snack.
Nice. Did you have more on the Paradise Garden Grill?
Yeah, the other item I had was the lime parfait, which is layers of graham cracker crust, lime cream cheese mousse, and a lime orange gel topped with chantilly. I love a key lime pie. This sounds sort of like a key lime pie. So this would for sure be on my list.
Is that picture above the lime parfait on the Disney Parks blog? Is that the taco or the chip thing you were talking about?
It is. It's served. But I mean, it was actually really nice because it was served in the bag. So they just hand it to you and you can continue on to your next attraction. So we actually got it and then went and stood in line for something and then ate it in line.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's one item on this list that I'm tempted to try, which is the pescado zarandejo. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. It's a whole grilled fish with corn tortillas, refried beans. I'd get that off. I'm not a big refried beans fan. Spanish rice, zesty slaw, pickled vegetables, and a side of chips and salsa. It looks really good in the photo.
It does. And I love a whole fish. A whole fish is really good. This is definitely a sit down item and sometimes a little bit tricky to fall apart. So this is like, hey, we're taking a break. I think we're going to sit and really eat a meal type of item.
I'm also wondering if they've deboned it, because the problem with a whole fish for me is like bones. And I assume that Disney would debone it so they don't have like kids trying it and have I mean, who knows?
True.
But that would be my thing. Do you have anything else before we get to churros?
Smoke Jumpers Grill. This is actually on one of the menus above too. This drink just has my name written all over it. It's a pickle whiskey sour cocktail, which is bourbon, pickle juice, lime juice, and sweet and sour, garnished with tahini, mild hot sauce rim, tahini, and a pickle spear. I love bourbon. I love pickles. This is like my dream right here. So I'd have to try this if I was there during this time.
It seems like they've been putting pickles, like, because they had like that pickle lemonade and stuff and some other things. And actually online recently, I was scrolling through and they had a picture from the pickle cart that was in the hub that says like there's, I don't know, it's one of those cutesy, like you could take a photo with it kind of things about pickles.
Yep.
And I told James, I said, I wonder how many pickles I'm going to have on this trip, because it was kind of my go-to snack a couple trips ago. So I don't know if it'll be... I had a lot. I averaged probably more than one a day of pickles.
I mean, it's a great snack, really, right? It's just a vegetable with some seasoning. So
and their pickles are so good.
They're so good.
They just cost too much. I think they're like $4 something a pickle now. And
maybe
I told James, I said, for the price of like 2 of these pickles, I could have a giant like Costco sized jar of pickles.
Totally. But they keep them so cold on that ice too. I mean, they know what they're doing. They've got the pickle.
And they're so like crunchy too. Like sometimes in the jar, you'll get ones that aren't so crunchy. I just love that they're, I don't know. It's just everything. My mouth's watering now. I want a pickle.
I know like Tokyo, right? They've got popcorn is kind of their thing. And we've been, churros, I guess, is kind of Disneyland's thing. Maybe pickles will be like the next. Maybe they'll do like types of pickles, or how can they put pickles in things
at the park? Don't need to mess with it. The current pickle is fine. Just leave the pickle alone. The pickle they have, if it's spicy or the regular, just leave it alone. All right.
Fair.
I would be amiss if I did not talk about a churro, because producer Vern would love to do churros. And this churro sounds really good because this is a dessert of choice for me. At Terran Treats in Avengers Campus, they have the creme brulee churro, which has a churro with pastry cream, strawberry coulis, and crushed brulee sugar on top. Oh, this sounds good.
On my list too. And it looks amazing in the photo. I mean, obviously it's a stage photo, but it's got those little sugar bites on top too. Delicious. And then I'm going to jump actually back up to Studio Catering Company. They have a Thai-inspired burrito, which is a chicken satay, pad thai noodles, peanut sauce, pineapple fried rice, and chili crisp in a burrito. So sounds pretty yummy.
Fried rice.
Yeah. Sounds hearty, but flavorful too. And then, not specific, but at select outdoor vending locations, they have a loaded carnitas pretzel bites with cheese sauce, salsa verde, cilantro, and onion. I would get this without the meat, but I like this idea of doing nachos on pretzel bites. I
did not see this one, probably because all I saw above it was teriyaki turkey leg, and I was like, moving on.
Yep.
But that kind of sounds good. I think James might try that because he likes pretzel bites. When we go to the movies, he always gets the pretzel bites.
Yeah.
So I could see this being something that's good. Just to mention them, there's a strawberry caramel churro that also looks good. That's at Willie's Churros on Buena Vista Street. They have a peach tea churro, which is in Hollywoodland, which is a classic churro rolled in peach sugar with diced peaches and a peach tea sauce. And then there's also a mango sticky rice inspired churro, which sounds interesting just from the name. That is a classic churro rolled in sugar with sticky rice and mango pieces. And that's near Goofy's Sky School and at Senor Buzz Churros on Pixar Pier.
That, of those four, obviously the creme brulee is one, and then the mango sticky rice churro would definitely be number 2 for me. It sounds like a fun combo of flavors. I like it.
It's got to be something, yeah. I'm also excited because they're going to have, I didn't put it on the list because it wasn't new, but at Lamplight, they have a strawberry lemonade donut, and you're going to be eating brunch there that day, so these will definitely be had by us.
I like that Lamplight does the seasonal donuts. I've noticed that as a trend, and there's not that much brunch in and outside of or sit down brunch, I guess, in and outside of the park, so it's fun that they rotate those.
Absolutely. Well, it is that time again for our friend Eric over at Concierge to catch us up on other Disney news.
Hello, everyone. This is Eric Johnson with Concierge, and welcome to the D180. While Teg and Teresa cover all things Disneyland, in the D180 we take a spin around the rest of the Disney universe, and we do it in 180 seconds. Let's jump right in. I wish we could start our week in Disneyland to talk about some of these big announcements for the 70th anniversary, but I imagine if your hosts haven't already done it, they will soon. Oh well. I also wish I could spend some time telling you about the Epcot International Flower and Garden Festival. This year there will be new merch, new music acts, new food locations, new topiaries, and even a new playground. Alas! I barely have time to tell you about the screaming deal on private jet tours with National Geographic Expeditions. Private jet expeditions are usually 2 or 3 weeks or more in length, and they take you to an incredible array of destinations. It's $2,500 off per person, or $5,000 off for returning guests, by the way. But wait! I need all the time I can get to tell you about the Disney Cruise Line in summer of 2026. General bookings just opened up for summer fun. Thanks to the new Disney Destiny and Disney Adventure, there will be 8 Disney ships plying the waves and visiting tons of destinations around the world. The Disney Magic and Wonder will ferry your family on an Alaskan adventure in the north. This is the first time 2 ships can make that trip, so there are even more opportunities for you to get on board this popular summer destination. The Disney Dream will cross the Atlantic for a series of European destinations. You can join on the transatlantic fun of a 14-day cruise from Florida to Spain. A series of long and short cruises bring the ship everywhere around the Mediterranean, the British Isles, and Scandinavia. The Disney's Fantasy, Wish, and Treasure will spend their summer touring the Bahamas, the East and West Caribbean, and Central America. You can for sure look forward to stops at Castaway Cay and Lighthouse Point, Disney's private destinations. The new Disney Destiny departs from Fort Lauderdale and will spend its time in similar waters. For a more far-flung cruise, travel to Singapore and board the also new Disney Adventure. This massive ship will basically be a theme park at sea. Cruises aboard this ship will be packed with family entertainment and attractions with all of your Disney pals. The Disney Destiny and Disney Adventure both set sail late in 2025, but you might want to hang on and wait until one of those 2026 cruises come along. See, I needed time for all of that. I hope you enjoyed our quick spin around the rest of the Disney universe. If you'd like to learn more about these Disney adventures or just have a few questions, please come on over. Visit the social media and websites of both DL Weekly and us, their official travel planners, concierge. We look forward to planning something special for you and yours. I'm Eric Johnson, and this has been your D180.
Thanks, Eric.
DL Weekly announces the boarding of the Trivia Express, non-stop star speeder service to the moon of Endor. All passengers, please prepare for immediate boarding.
Hello, it's time for you to visit Trivia Land. How's it going, you two?
Good. I'm happy to be back.
I'm excited because my brain, it's been so long. What was the last time I was in Disneyland? Was that like August? So
that sounds about right.
It needs to be refreshed. And so this time next week, I will be in Disneyland again. So I'm very excited for that.
Woohoo.
Yoo-hoo. Well, unfortunately for you, the trivia is not sprawling this week. We have listener-inspired questions and a few of my own about one attraction and one attraction only. So we're going to
hopefully
see
it's
how
one
well
I know
you
about.
know. We'll see how well you know about it.
Ready.
All right, Olivia, it's all you. No.
Oh, no.
So we are going to take a journey into the only attraction with Walt's name on it. That is not the first trivia question. It is the Enchanted Tiki Room. So good work. You've set yourself up well. So our first question from listener Chrissy A. How long was the original Tiki Room show versus how long is the current show?
I'm just going to throw numbers out that came to my mind. I think the original show was 18 minutes and the new show is 12 minutes.
Oh, you think it was longer to start?
Oh yeah, they cut out songs.
Oh, okay. I learned already
In fact,
something
in
new.
in the track that I have of the Tiki Room, there's a whole song in there that I have never seen in the Tiki Room. But
Oh, wow.
was in there, yeah.
Okay, I think the newer one, this is so funny. I've been doing these daily walks now, and kind of to trick my brain, I've been putting on like Disneyland music to pretend that I'm, walking in the park, and actually it's going well. So
Love it. Yeah.
But my one yesterday, or maybe a couple days ago, was the Enchanted Tiki Room. That was the playlist that I put on. So I think it's a little longer than what Tag said. So I'm going 15 minutes now, 20 minutes previously.
That could be right.
All right. Absolutely could be. So moving on to question number 2, I want to know what types of birds are your 4 hosts, Jose, Michael, Pierre, and Fritz?
Well, there's a parrot and a macaw, right? I don't know why I'm saying what, right? James is going to tell me.
They're all classified as one type of bird, apparently. So,
Oh, one?
yes.
They have to be types of parrots then,
Well, then maybe
right?
they're not macaws. Yeah, maybe they are parrots.
I'm going to say parrots.
Yeah. Because I'm thinking I'm screwing up because the macaw is in the song, and I think they're referring to the people, to some of the birds in the room, not them. So yeah, you're
No, but I
right.
think a macaw is a type of parrot.
Ooh. Well, then I'll go macaw. You can go parrot, and one of us will be wrong or right, or we'll both be wrong, or who knows?
Or we'll both be right, maybe.
Maybe.
Good question. All right. Moving on to question number 3. According to the book Disneyland Detective by Kendra Trahan, the cast list features 9 distinct character types in the Enchanted Tiki Room, in addition to 20 assorted tropical birds. Can you name the character groups?
What do you mean by? Can you
For
explain
example,
to me what you're looking for?
one of the 9 character groups is macaws. Who
Oh.
else plays in the Tiki Room?
Okay. Well, now I just feel dumb because the only thing I could do is try to sing the song because I go, the boys in the back are called macaws because of their claws? No, because they're macaws. Toucan, Jolly
yep.
Toucan. And two can
One
sound better
toucan,
than one
can.
toucan can. Yep.
Birds of paradise.
Yep.
They're an elegant bird. They love to be seen and they love to be heard. And then little birdies, which I don't think that's a bird type, but I think
No.
that's the next lyric in the song. Like, is flowers and plants a character type? Fountain?
I am looking for a specific type of flower.
Well, the flowers are birds of paradise. Like those are the ones that look
Oh,
like they,
yeah.
do whatever. And then you've got now are you counting the tiki gods too?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So you've got the totem tiki people and then the drumming tiki god people in there. You have the enchanted fountain, which I love. I don't know if you're counting the enchanted fountain or not.
Not counting that one.
Aren't the female birds white? The white birds?
Here come the girls.
The narrator?
Yeah.
The narrator. My favorite
Which I think
character in
is the
every
tiki
show.
room birds, but the air conditioning unit.
How many did we name so far, James?
Including the narrator and air conditioning unit?
No.
I have 5 marked
And we
down
need
for you.
9?
9.
There are 9.
Okay.
You have
I have-
started talking about 2 of them, but just
Yeah.
not specifically. So
I'm just thinking about
more-
the flowers.
Flowers. I'm trying to think of like a Hawaiian flower.
Mm-hmm. And now, direct from the islands, a musical luau. But they don't say like what it is. Are they like tulips? They're like tulips, I think, because like they've got that round. Is that a tulip? I don't know. No, that's not a tulip. Probably.
I was trying to think of what the pink flowers in Hawaii are called, and now I can't remember a single flower.
You know who would know this, James? I feel like Teresa would know this.
Maybe.
Let me think. Oh, goodness. Let's see. I'm just trying to... I'm like, in my mind, I'm sitting in the tiki room, and I'm thinking of all the things around me, because in the corners of the Birds of Paradise, they have the big...
listen to the clicking. All the mouths tapping together, right?
You got the basket of flowers that comes down, but I can't think of what those are. You got the little... That must be no. There's toucans, but then there's like the two white birds that like sit next to each other around the thing. So like, are those like doves? Because like you have to have them together.
Maybe parakeets are small birds.
What
if I give you? I'm gonna try to debate with James here. Can I give you white flowers, pink flowers, colors of flowers?
This is good creative problem solving. I like where you're going.
It's usually how I operate in my life.
I'm thinking like, because what are the white birds that come down that are like Rosita and stuff? Like, what the heck are they?
What are they? Yes.
There's no like peacocks.
No.
I think we've hit the limit of what we're gonna realistically figure out here.
That sounds right. There's one you're going to kick yourself for that you missed, but we'll move on. The last set of questions I have are from listener Ryan J., who pulled these from the book from Ken Bruce, Before the Birds Sang Words.
Oh, he just had him on, yeah.
Exactly, so great timing. So
amazing.
So we'll see how much of the book knowledge came into the podcast as well. So the first question is, one of the MC birds has different eyes than the other three. What bird is it, and what's different?
I'm going to say... because it's just going to be weird. I'm going to say...
shot. It's pretty good.
It's the one who's from, like, Ireland or whatever. And I'm going to say he's got red eyes. Red eyes? No, like... What color... Like, blue? No. What color eyes do people from Ireland... Like, redheaded people have? Is it, like... What's their normal eye color?
I think it's any kind of eye color at that point.
I don't know why I thought, like...
Eye color's right, though. I'm going to say eye color. Do we have to be more specific than that?
Nope, that is totally acceptable.
Okay.
Wait, what was the question then?
With which bird has different eyes and what's different about them?
Okay, so probably the color.
Olivia,
and then who is
going
it?
With Michael, or are you going with a different bird?
I'm going to go...
Is it Michael? Yeah.
Well, is Jose the like first bird?
Jose's
I'm trying to go through Jose. I'm going to go
Jose's like
Jose.
the MC.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's Jose because he's like the main bird, so maybe there's something different about him. And then I'm going eye color.
Eye color.
Sure.
Very good.
And I'll go with Michael and eye color.
All right. Last question, technically bonus question because we're on to question 5. So Ryan wants to know, do Jose, Pierre, Michael, and Fritz blink? Do the birds blink?
This feels
I
like
know
a
they
trick
breathe.
question.
It really does.
There's so much clicking in this attraction. I mean, my answer is yes, but now I'm feeling like it's no because I was thinking it was yes.
I think it's yes.
Both locking in yes that the birds
blink?
blink?
I think so.
I'll go yes, too.
Okay. Yes, they blink. All right. Very good. Questions done. Boy, did they make the tiki room hard.
I need a Dole Whip as my reward right now.
I think you've earned that. Or maybe a power nap if you're producer Vern in the tiki room.
Both.
Great nap location. So, all right. Well, hi ho, it's off to discussion land we go, right? But come back later for the trivia answers.
Well, for this week, we are very excited to welcome Les to the show. He is a former cast member and has been with the Walt Disney Company for quite a while and has all sorts of fun stories to share with us. So welcome, Les. We're very excited to have you here.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here. Love to continue sharing the magic of Disney, even though I don't work for them anymore. But
You're always
It's
a
just
part
a
of it,
magical
right?
place. Yeah.
I'm always once a cast member, always a cast member.
We've heard that. We've had a couple of Jungle Cruise skippers on, and we learned that there's nobody is a former Jungle Cruise skipper. You're always a skipper. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Oh, I love that. That's a good analogy. I love it. Love it.
Yep, I love it too. Before we get into the main questions, I think this is very interesting. Les, can you tell everyone how you've connected with us? Because they are very familiar with the person.
Oh,
that's our mutual friend.
Really? I didn't even know Andy was a legend. But yeah, my friend Andy Mack, who I've known for years since, I think it was like 2002 or 3. But we met during Disney through mutual friends, and we kept in touch ever since. And through social media, which is an amazing outlet to keep in touch. And I was on a layover on my career as a flight attendant, and I met him in Las Vegas. And yeah, we connected. And yeah, he told me about this podcast. And I think, oh, this is something cool I would love to be interested in.
That's amazing.
So yeah.
Andy is a good friend of the podcast. He has provided many different voice snippets that we use throughout the podcast for our kind of like, I don't know, segues into our different segments. So he's amazing. He's so
That's
fun.
so cool. That's awesome. So he's sort of the voice of the podcast.
Yes.
I was going to say he is the voice of DL Weekly. We had
the multiple voices of DL
Yes.
Weekly, because he does
Well,
all sorts of different characters for us.
multiple personalities
cool.
of DL Weekly.
Yeah, exactly. And I found out about Andy, about his voiceover when he sent me the link. I'm like, I never knew you did all these commercials.
Yeah.
So I actually asked him the other day, I'm like, hey, if I paid you, can you do my voicemail for me? And he said, yeah, I'll do
I love it.
He's very talented. He's very talented.
Oh, who knew? And he's such a genuine, friendly guy, too.
Oh,
so.
yeah. Definitely.
The whole package.
He's awesome. And what's
Shout
funny
out to Andy.
Yeah.
Shout out to
What's
Andy.
funny about Andy is he's so enthusiastic about what he does.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
out of nowhere, he'll just message me and Teresa and be like, here's another like little interstitial thing that I recorded for you guys because I just felt inspired. Here you go. We're like, okay.
Wow.
It's incredible.
Really?
Yeah.
I wish I could
It's
do
like-
that with my talents.
It's like random magic mail. Like, and every time we open the audio
Yeah.
clip, it doesn't matter. We're like the biggest smile on our face
Yeah.
from whatever it was that he created. It's just so cool.
That is cool. He utilizes talents and shares it with you all. I love it.
Yeah. All right. Well,
That
let's
is
start.
Another shout out for Andy. Thank you, Andy.
Yay, love it.
Yeah. Let's
Love Andy.
let's start where we always start.
Yeah.
So let's tell us your Disney story. What got you interested in Disney or the parks? You can be as detailed as you like with this, but how did you get to where you were with Disney?
Yeah, so I'm not a very long-winded person, so I apologize for that, but I like to get to the point. But yeah, I started loving Disney when I was a baby. Like when I first, like my birthday cake was of Mickey Mouse. So I loved Mickey ever since I was a baby. And so that my first time to Disneyland was when I was 10 years old. And I fell in love with the theme parks that I knew I was going to be a Disney cast member. So fast forward to, I was at the University of Hawaii as a student studying journalism. And I came into this flyer that said, come join the Walt Disney World College program. And I thought, well, I've never been to Disney World. I've always been to Disneyland. So I was like, this is my opportunity to. So I took that chance, went to the information session, met this wonderful cast member named Paul Keene, who was my recruiter. And he interviewed me and got me the position to be in 1999, it was the college program in January. And I became the cast member in the Emporium at the Magic Kingdom because I had a merchandise background. So that's where I started. And, it was all new to me, but I flew in with a bunch of people from Hawaii. It was like 12 of us. And we were so scared because we didn't know what we were getting ourselves into. But we kind of like hung out with each other before making that big leap into that day that we had to fly to Orlando. And when we did, it was like pure magic. We all got along well. And, when you meet with Disney cast members, it's like that common ground. And it just starts from there because you just have a sense of community and love for Disney, and just everything kind of like trickles down from there. And to this day, we still keep in touch after 24 years together.
Wow.
Yeah. So, people come and go, people have their families, but we still keep in touch. And, as Disney cast members, we have lifelong friends that I still keep in touch with. And I've been best man at people's weddings. I've been godfathers for the kids. It's just amazing. Amazing. And so anyway, college program, 1999, Emporium at the Magic Kingdom. And I just loved it so much. I decided to stay on board. So I moved out of Vista Way and into an apartment with no car because I'm from Hawaii. But I made it work. And I stayed off in the college program, extended on. And then at the Emporium, I just made so much friends that became family to me there. Even people that had been there for like 20, 30 years, they just embrace you and they take care of you like your own. And believe it or not, I still keep in touch with some of the people that have been there for years, and I still keep in touch with them on social media. It's just a strong bond we've had, and the memories will just last forever.
I think that's wild that there was a dozen other people in Hawaii that you were able to kind of connect with pre that big move, and that you guys had like this little group together. That's so cool.
Oh my gosh, it was amazing. Yeah, and we all stuck together, right? For the first week, we were all scared, so we all hung up together. And then when we found our own path and our own friends, we kind of like branched out, but then we always get together somehow every so often. Yeah, and cool. Yeah, and I loved it. But after my college program, I went home to Hawaii to graduate. I changed my degree because when you work at Disney, you find out things about yourself that you never knew, and things about you that works well, things that you find your strong points. And I found my love for working with people and with promoting things like Disney. So I changed my major from journalism, which was more like news reporting. I changed it to public relations because I love working with the public. And so I crammed all my internships in 1 year at the University of Hawaii, and I graduated with a communication degree in public relations. And then when Disney accepted me into their college program, again in guest relations at Disney MGM Studios, and then I guess that the story just started again. So it's been amazing.
Amazing. And apparently a very good experience since you stayed with it for 24 years.
Oh, yes, it is. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. And it was my first time away from home. Like when I called my mom and I told her I was going to apply for the college program, she flipped out. She was, no, absolutely not. You're not moving out of this place. But I guess she gave in. And I remember when I first called her after when I settled in to my apartment in Vista Way, I called her. I'm like, Mom, I don't think I'm going to move back to Hawaii. I think I'm going to, stay here. And she flipped out again. But you know what? She was supportive of me. But you know what's so funny? It's like a lot of people from the East Coast that are more from the college program in Disney World, they haven't really met people from Hawaii before. So they treated me like a celebrity. Oh, wow. They were so inquisitive. I took advantage of it. Like the fact where people would ask me questions like, how much does it cost to mail a postcard to Hawaii? And I was like, it's in the United States, so it's the same price. Or I brought my skateboard with me, and someone asked me, like, how do you skateboard in sand? I'm like, there's streets and concrete in Hawaii. But then one of the coolest thing that happened was one of my next door neighbors in the college program. She was so fascinated by Hawaii. I was wearing like this surfing Hawaiian long sleeve shirt, and she told me she wanted to buy it off my back for $20. So I did. So I sold it to her. I said, I'm going to ask her if she still has it. Isn't that funny?
The weirdest things that people think when you're now my family, we've hosted exchange students for a few years.
Right.
And they tell us stories of like people at their school that are like, they ask them all types of weird questions. And because people just think that anything that what they're, in their little bubble, that it must be so exotic. And, I'll be honest with you. Teresa's been to Hawaii. I've never been to Hawaii.
Yeah.
And so to me, Hawaii sounds like an amazing, exotic, far off land. But you're right. It's like, we traveled to Europe 2 years ago, and last year, and went all around, and I'm like, all these cities feel like cities in the U.S. They're just different. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's crazy that
different
people...
cultures.
Yeah.
It is. It's so funny. And and it's just, I don't know, just what people think about Hawaii. And I even asked them, I even joke around and I say that we don't use like money, U.S. currency. We use like clamshells for like currency.
See, you're helping push the misunderstanding.
Well, you know what helped a lot though to go against this norm is when Disney Aulani Resort and Spa opened up, and that's when a lot of Disney cast members are like, I'm not going to go there, and now they're like very frequent visitors of Aulani, and they have their own favorite cast members that they go to, and they have their favorite restaurants in Hawaii. So it kind of opened up the doors for the Hawaii economy when Disney's Aulani Resort and Spa opened up, and I was like, whoa. So that kind of came a long way, right, from the stereotype. Yeah, so.
Yes.
Yeah. 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 Right. Yeah. Yeah. I kind of, no, because as a VIP tour guide for Walt Disney World for years, I tackle to the left because like a lot of people are right brained, so they go to the right. So we go to the left, or I go to the Fantasyland first because Fantasyland is going to be with all the kids in the afternoon time. So you want to like kind of tackle that area with Peter Pan's Flight and all those other attractions before the crowd gets through. So yeah, that probably Fantasyland or even to the left to like Adventureland because I love Indiana Jones and the Temple of the Forbidden Eye. That's probably one of my favorite attractions. So I would go there too. And yeah, so the left side. Is a majority of the people usually say left, or is it?
I would say I remember left as being the strong one, but that's also what Tag and I prefer. So maybe it's in my head that everybody.
I do want to say
left answers than not.
I think you're in a. I could probably count on one hand how many people have said Fantasyland. So that's cool.
Oh,
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And same thing with the left tunnel. There's not very many people that go to left tunnel, but lots of people head towards Adventureland first.
Really? That's so cool. Well, and I've learned working at the Emporium at the Magic Kingdom is that, how it's on the left side. Emporium's on the left. It's because people are not going to shop right away. They're going to go straight to the attractions and things. So when they leave the park, they need last minute souvenirs. So that's why they're going to be on the right side.
Come on, that's brilliant. Like, it makes total sense when you say that, but the fact that they planned it that way.
Oh, yeah. It's all like calculated. Everything's calculated to the way, And so, and at the end of the night, the Emporium is probably the scariest part of the theme park because it's the most busiest. Because, when everyone gets to go home, I'm like, oh, geez, here's the crowds now. And it's going to be like thousands of people at the Emporium. And we don't go home until 2 hours after the last guest leaves the Emporium. So even if it was like 2 a.m, I would go home at 4 a.m. And college program, stands for college closing person, right? CP. I'm not sure if you heard that before. That's their seniority is closing. Yeah, it's called closing person. So, every night, once the guest leaves the parks, they go straight to the Emporium and it's all chaos. There's magnets everywhere. There's plush animals here and there. So part of our job was to gather baskets and collect all the miscellaneous items everywhere. And then when the guests leave, we put things back the way they are. And there was this plush area called Plush Mountain. We call it Plush Mountain because that was where all the dolls were. And we had to put together Plush Mountain and everything had to look pristine. That's why when I go to stores, any stores, I always put things back the way they are because I know how hard it is to put things back the way they should be. Yeah. I remember a guest once asked me at 1 a.m. and they're like, hey, what time is the next parade? And I'm like, parade? I was like the walking home of cast members. That's the only parade you'll see. But that's the only thing we'll see because I'm like, what? But anyway, Emporium was like the last to close and we were just like exhausted.
Teresa and I actually worked in retail together at one time.
Oh.
And I feel you because now that I've worked in retail, I never dump stuff I don't want, like by the cash wrap or whatever. See, Teresa's better than I am.
I love it.
I worked in the front end. She worked at the front end too. We both worked at the front end. And I learned that it's okay to hand it to the cashier and say, like, I don't want this. Because they've got a bin. And they collect the bins. Yeah, it's so much better than I'm just going to, like, dump this on some random end cap somewhere or whatever. And
because then it's more work for us.
And I have to imagine it at a Disney park that it's like even worse because you got all the little kids who are like picking stuff up and their parents are like, no, put that back. And the kid doesn't remember where they got it. So they probably just put it wherever. And adults, and like, I think about the clothing stores because people like pick up and look at it and nobody folds stuff back. So they just throw it on the counter. It's crazy.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. No, 100%. And speaking of merchandise, have you ever seen that picture of Britney Spears carrying a lot of merchandise in her hand with Emporium? Do you remember that picture? She had like a bag full of stuff. And so I was working that day and they said, Britney Spears is coming to do a photo shoot. So I need you to gather all the merchandise. So I gathered all her merchandise that she had in her hand in that photo. And I got bags and I put all the things in it. And I got her hat, the blue hat. I got Pluto plush. So everything was on her. I pretty much dressed her up. And it was so funny. And then like I bought that Pluto that she carried on her right arm, I think, or left arm. But yeah, but a lot of people recreate that moment on TikTok, and I'm like, hey, that's me. I was the one that I dressed her up. Dude,
I'm so out of the loop that I've never seen this photo before.
Did you Google it?
I did. Yes.
Did you see it now? Yeah. If you go on TikTok, they'll do trends of people doing that with the same iconic merchandise bags and hat and pink sweater or shirt. Yeah, so that's
true.
I was part. Oh my God, 100%. So yeah, so
if I would have walked by her, I never would have realized that was Britney Spears. She's really well camouflaged,
hidden. Then we did our job. And then someone asked me on that TikTok, they're like, "Did she buy all those merchandise?" I'm like, "No, it's all fake. She didn't buy any of those. We just put it back. We put things back the way they were after." She goes, "Well, thanks for ruining my magic." I'm like,
"Well, yeah, but somebody then, somebody then ended up, like you said, somebody then ended up buying it, and they probably didn't realize that Britney Spears touched this."
Yes. Well, something that's crazy too is, and it's kind of gross, but she had her blue hat, and I'm like, oh, there's a blonde hair in there. I'm like, I wonder how much this is worth.
It's a legitimate question. Legitimate question.
Yeah. So yeah, but anyway, that had fun stories at the Emporium. But I had more. Like I had a lot of fun. Who knew that later on I would have 1,000 more stories as a VIP tour guide for Walt Disney World and in guest relations and just amazing people that I've met throughout the years. But it's rewarding within itself.
Well, let me ask the last question in the beginning, and then we can get into it, because now I have like a billion questions just about working at the Emporium, and that's not even like, I'm sure the VIP stuff is way more interesting, but what is your favorite attraction? So even though it's a Disneyland podcast, it can be an attraction from any park anywhere in the world.
Right.
Disney park.
My favorite of all time is probably Indiana Jones and the Temple of the Forbidden Eye. By far my favorite, because it's just so well done. Even when I go to Dinosaur, I just can't compare that, even though it's the same type of track at Disney's Animal Kingdom. It's just because it's amazing. The setup and the special effects and the noise and just the heat you feel from the volcano. It's just amazing. And I'm like, and what's so funny is that my cousins and I would recreate that scene at our grandfather's backyard pool after we went on that, because we wanted to recreate that entire story. But anyway, that kind of touched home, and I got to, and then I was so happy that I was at Tokyo Disney Sea, because I just couldn't get enough of that attraction. So yeah, that's my favorite attraction.
Oh, now you've said that you've been to Tokyo Disney Sea, so that just opened a whole nother list of questions.
I love it. Oh my God, I love you all.
I'll share quickly that when I was younger, when I first had my first annual pass at Disneyland, my friends and I had there was a 50 Years of Imagineering. This guy had compiled the sound from a bunch of different attractions, and like every sound that was on the attraction was in one track at one point or another. Anyway, we would drive around San Francisco and play the music to Indiana Jones Adventure, and I would, at 20 years old, be turning the car, swerving it around. It was like 3 a.m. in San Francisco, and I'd hit the brakes, and all that stuff. It was a lot of fun.
That's
so I get you. I get what you're saying about recreating stuff.
Right. It does something to you with the music and the special effects. It kind of just brings you back to memories of that, right? And so you want to recreate that again. And that's the best part of Disney. It's like it brings you memories, and it kind of like helps you to bring happiness into yourself again.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So let's start with the Emporium, which was your first thing. The fact that you already leaked that you were part of the iconic Britney Spears merchandise photo, I was totally not expecting that. So who knows what other stories you have of the Emporium, but can you kind of just tell us what like your typical day looked like besides just the cleaning up after all the folks?
Styling Britney Spears,
yes, and
all the other
Britney
stuff.
Spears.
So the dirty work, aside from those dirty work, back in the day, you have to remember that it was not, technology wasn't there with the iPhones and all that type of thing. So we would have to clock in.
We call those the good old days.
The good old, the classic days when we were taught more responsibilities and you had to be more responsible, right? But yeah, we would catch the bus from Vista Way, because a lot of us didn't have transportation. So we would catch the bus to our internal transportation to the Magic Kingdom or to our respective parks that we worked at. And then they would drop us off at West Clock, which is, I'm not sure if you know what West Clock is, but West Clock is where the employees would park, which is by Disney University behind the Magic Kingdom. So it's about half a mile away from the Magic Kingdom. And then you would catch the bus, go through security check, and then we would jump on the bus with all these different cast members with different costumes, from the Jungle Cruise, Space Mountain. So we're all together blended going into the Magic Kingdom on the Disney bus. By the way, were 2 of you ever cast members, Disney cast members?
We're not.
Oh, okay. Well, you probably... Oh, I have no doubt you probably too would get in really quick if you were cast members. But yeah, we would catch the bus together, and the Disney bus, and then I would call it the Bat Cave because they would like take us into the Bat Cave, which is like above Small World or below Small World was the entrance to the Bat Cave.
The Bat Cave, I love that.
I call it the Bat Cave. That was the cool way of saying it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we would go to the Bat Cave. I would get off the bus, and then back then, we weren't able to take our costumes home. So we would have to like check out our costumes downstairs underneath the utilidor. And there was like a special area where we would check out our costumes. You have to know what size we are. And then like in the entrance on the right was a Mosqueteria where cast members would eat their food. It was catered by, I think it was Aramark or one of those catering services. So we got cheaper food there. So if we didn't bring our food, we had that or vending machine down in the utilidor. But the utilidor was like a very intricate system where we would, it's pretty cool. It's like the first floor of Florida. So the second floor would be the Magic Kingdom. But then we would change. And then, of course, the Emporium is at the other end of the park. So I would have to like walk briskly, safely after going to costuming and then clock in at the Emporium.
Oh, wow.
Which was at the other end. So I have to go underneath the tunnel system, underneath the castle, pop up Main Street. And I'm not sure, you probably did podcasts about the Utilidor before, right? Or even talked about it. But there's
cast members generally say, because we're always excited, we're like, man, it would be so cool to go down there. They're like, it smells like garbage.
I think it's cool. I mean, some of the parts smell like garbage, but I think some parts smell like cotton candy and some parts smell like ice cream.
Juxtaposition of smells.
Right? One man's junk is another man's treasure, right? Yeah. And so I thought it was cool. I used to drive the Pargos underneath because part of the Emporium was being package pickup resort delivery. So I would pick up merchandise from the different merchandise shops underground, and I would just pick it up and drop it off at the Emporium. That's so I got to know the Utilidor from driving the little Pargos, and you drive by the Disney characters walking by or Snow White walking by. Or I remember one time I had to stop and Tigger was jumping in front of me heading to his set. So that was pretty cool down there. But yeah, and the marching bands would be down there getting ready, and so it's like a chaos down there, but it's controlled chaos. But yeah, that was my typical day there. And then once we clock in, we just figure out which position we're at the Magic Kingdom, what area we were, and then we just kind of like, and then we were on stage, and that's when the magic happens. And then, so did I answer your question about your daily?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
I love that you got to drive. Not only did you get to just be in the Utilidors, no, you got to drive around the Utilidor.
That was very fun. Yeah, that was so fun. But yeah, that was pretty much my daily part at Emporium. And then you know what? When I always look forward to going to work every day, no matter what, no matter how late it was or early, because I just love seeing the people, seeing the cast members. They're like family to me. So, it's just it wasn't work. It was fun. Every day was fun. Every day was fun. Yeah, we went, and and at night, all the college program people would work together because all the people that had been there for years got to go home at like 2:00 in the afternoon. So all of us stayed in, but it was funny because we got through so many different things together. One of our most memorable time was working grad night. If you ever heard of grad night, all the seniors would get to roam around the parks after 10:00 at night. But it was that time of the Emporium where we would have to saran wrap every keychain shelf. We would have to tape everything that's stealable out of the way. We had to have every cast member at every door during the event. And if a student bought anything, we would have to staple their bag shut. And they weren't allowed to open it till they finished their event.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why, but then we always had to make sure too, we were like the police for making sure that people tucked in their shirts, people were wearing appropriate clothing and all that type of stuff. So the Emporium cast members, we were all like making sure that we were like crowd controlling as well. So that's really fun. Yeah.
Tag, you said you had some specific Emporium questions.
I mean, my whole thing is I always want to know how everything works. And I'm just thinking just the chaos that, you kind of talked a little bit about the day, right? And I'm just thinking about what it must be like in the morning. I've been in the Emporium in the morning when we've been looking for certain merchandise, but there's really never that's not the busy time, right? People
peaceful.
Yeah, and people kind of come and go throughout the day, and it gets busier. At least at Disneyland, it gets busier around parade times because people kind of use it to get by people and everything. And then you get the end of the night, which I love the saying, Main Street will remain open for an additional hour for your shopping convenience, which is okay. And Teresa and I have both stayed on Main Street for close to that hour before, just because we especially on our last night of a trip, we just don't want to leave.
Yeah. Of course.
So with the utilidors, it's a little different than Disneyland. When you needed to restock things, it came from that section, right?
From downstairs. Yeah. We would have an elevator dedicated to Emporium downstairs as like the merchandise storage room. So that's where we would like stock things. And throughout the day, we would stock things. And there was also a big stock room behind the Emporium. So once you walk through those doors, it's like a huge storage facility with all these like hangers, and you have all these different merchandise in different spots, plush animals, toys, all this stuff. And there was also a duty desk, like an information desk in the back where there's like so there'll be the manager sitting there and also the coordinator. So if the cast member came in and say, hey, I need this, or can you call the stockroom for me and, help me bring it up? Or it's kind of like the communication hub, and they would have, them taking care of people's schedule. Like, all right, you're going to go on break now, and this is this person's break. And so they kind of monitor the rotation. Nowadays, though, obviously, I'm not sure how it is now, but with technology, we run on a system called the cast deployment system, and it's called CDS for short. And that's where the computers will run the rotations for people. So we would clock in, type in our employee number, the receipt will come out, and it'll tell you who you have to bump next for their next assignment. I'm not sure. Have you heard of CDS before?
No, and this is one of those things.
We've seen the little receipts get passed around.
There was a cast member that we were talking to one day, I want to say, and because you see people passing this around, and I'm I asked them, I said, can I see what that looks like? Because it's always like this thing, and I want to know what it is. And they're like, you can't tell anybody. And then showed it to me, and I'm like, oh, it's not that exciting. But at least I know what it is. No. But it's when you don't know, it's it's like some top secret thing, right?
Right. Like, what are they saying? Are they saying something about me? Like, watch out for this person. No, but it was more like rotation. Like, please bump a greeter, and the greeter
move
will
here,
kind of move here and there, and And the beginning, it was kind of hard because all of us were trying to get used to how this worked. I worked at Disney's Blizzard Beach Water Park for 3 months, rolling out their CDS program, and it was just chaotic because you had to tell that person to bump that person off the slide to go all the way up to the top the slide, and then there's times when the computer would crash. And we're like, oh shoots, we're not sure how to get people to go to where they need to be, so they busted out the old school way with paper and pen and tell people to like you would have people get stuck up the summit plummet, and we're like, who's going to go up there and tell them to do that? I'm like, I'm not going to go up there and tell them to move to a different position. But now it works well. And so there's always a rite of passage with cast members who do CDS, because not every department does CDS. The operations do in the parks, but obviously not the backstage, with the administration. But one of the things we love to do as cast members, when it's our last day working for Disney, we like to take a picture of, or like to have like that Mickey Mouse saying, see you real soon, because it's you're clocking out for the last time. And I'm getting emotional, but it's like, see you real soon. And it has Mickey Mouse, and they're like, and that's kind of like our goodbye to everyone kind of thing.
Oh,
yeah, it's kind of sad. I miss my Disney cast members. But that's the CDS system worked well when it did. And it just, again, it helped control the system itself.
Well, and there's so many cast members, like in a general shift for you, like how many cast were on at a time working the Emporium? And as a add on to that, so I don't ask like a million questions in a row.
Oh no, that's fine.
The other one is just like, what are kind of the positions at the Emporium? And I know this seems somebody listening to this will enjoy these answers. I'm telling you, Teresa. Teresa doesn't care about this stuff as much, but I love the nitty gritty.
I'm sorry.
No, totally
the little details. Well, like back in the day, I always say back in the day because again, things could change. But there was a greeter position where we would like greet the door, and if it was overly staffed, then yes, we would have a greeter position. But if we were understaffed, because sometimes if the attendance is forecasted less than we thought. I'm not sure if you know this, but before the pandemic, we would keep numbers of how many people were in the parks, and we would kind of gauge the forecast on how many people were in attendance a year ago on this day. So that we would know how many people we can staff. So how many people, but sometimes the trends change and people just want to stay home, and we're like, oh, okay, well, we're overstaffed. So, hey, do you want to go home early? Do you want an early release? ER was a famous 2 letters that we use because ER means early release. You get to go home early. But yeah, there's different positions, greeters. And all of us in Emporium were able to jump in the registers. So it was kind of like mind blowing because I can jump on someone else's register and I can just bring it up because there was a cash control room in the back that would kind of make sure that we had our numbers correctly counted with the money and things. Yeah, but I can just jump into another register. But we usually would stick in our zone. So we had like a zone for like, one part of the section, hey, you're going to be in the barbershop area today, or you're going to be there. But on Main Street, at the Main Street and Magic Kingdom, you would have the west side and the east side. And so mine was the west side. Mine was Emporium. So I would work any of the merchandise shops, either in the Emporium or the Casey's Corner, that area. I was responsible for the left side. So I could be pulled anywhere on the left side, but I couldn't cross the street on the east side because they had like Uptown Jewelers. Yeah, they had the Hat Chapeau. So those were the cast members on the other side. So even though we all wore the same costumes, we all had kept it separate. I think even at Disney's Hollywood Studios, it's the same way, where you have Mickey's. God, it's been a year, and I forgot all the names of the places. Oh, gosh.
That's okay. But yeah, it was separated. That's interesting, though, and it makes sense because those shops, each side is kind of all interconnected as far as, the guest experience. You don't necessarily know when you're going from shop to shop to shop. So it is kind of just like one giant thing. So it makes sense that you'd be assigned to, like you said, the left side of the street or the right side of the street.
Right. We would be assigned that side. And so that was the way it worked. And that's how I operated. We kept on one side, they kept on the other side. But and it worked well. And, we can interchange with costumes. Even though the sports shop in that had their own costumes, you could even jump in with the Emporium costume. It was just interchangeable that way. But that was a great experience, just seeing the operation of that. But we all had our own positions. But again, we worked all well together as a team. And if they need me to cover that area, I would cover that area, and so on and so forth. The only place we couldn't touch was Casey's Corner because that was a food and beverage thing, and it's a whole safety operation within itself.
Nope, that makes total sense.
Yeah, it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So let's jump forward in time and talk about your second round at the college program. So it sounded like you had a different assignment. So you moved out of the Emporium, but not too far away from the Emporium because you were now in guest services.
Yes, we were in guest relations. And I never knew about that place until I saw someone in plaid during my college program at the Emporium. I'm like, I want to do that. And so I heard about it, talked to my friend Kyle, who was a plaid person. And so, I applied for that role when I was a couple of months before I graduated from college. And they accepted me into the college program. So maybe a week after I graduated, I flew to Orlando and started training at Disney MGM Studios. That was the theme park they placed me at. Yeah, and so wearing the plaid for the first time was amazing, and going through traditions again. But you learn a lot. I was very scared to be in guest relations when I first started because I was like, I don't know what I got myself into because, you hear about you have to be the knowledge and voice of the park. You're the communication hub between the guests and the park. And I only know the Emporium and the Magic Kingdom. I didn't really know too much about everything, but I kind of challenged myself and I learned about the ins and outs about Disney MGM Studios and Walt Disney World in general. So, and then, you hear about the challenges that people have with the guests coming into guest relations with different situations. And we handle it all. Have y'all been to guest relations before for anything?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Not too much at Walt Disney World, but we've been to
for Disneyland.
For Disneyland, and
usually because we're like complimenting people. Just to be clear, we're not usually the people.
I love that. I love that.
Cast compliments, getting buttons, inquiring about recipes.
My
and
magic
stuff.
band was being weird, so we had to go get help with the magic band. But other than that,
it was like fun things, but we had to deal with also the challenging parts, like the people not having such a magical day or ticketing issues. We had to Disneyland doesn't handle tickets, guest relations. We handle tickets. We handle dining. We handle everything there. So we had it rough as far as guest situations. I've had guest situations that was very intense.
Yeah.
And then some that were very fun and just memorable. But someone put it to me. They're like, people come to Disney. They're not going to come to guest relations saying, I'm going to have the best time. I can't wait to go to guest relations. They don't want to go there unless they have to, right? Yeah. Or unless you got a Disney service button. So we had to figure a way to make ourselves comfortable and happy and to stand out. But it was a fun place because it's a sought out position that cast members want. It's like a lot of their dream is to work in guest relations. That is like a waiting list of people to try to get into guest relations. Till this day, it's hard to get into guest relations.
It does seem like
there's a thing
like a role that would be kind of more prestigious than you're the attraction operator or you work in the store or whatever.
100%. And even though the attractions are cool, those places are so cool to work at. But guest relations, you have to have a knowledge of to a certain point. And when you wear that plaid, because I'm a trainer, I was a trainer in guest relations. I always train my cast members that are coming in. I'm like, when you wear that plaid with pride because you're putting on a Superman cape. you are representing Disney backstage and on stage because cast members look up to you as the ambassador of Disney, the cream of the crop. And so even backstage when I'm eating lunch, people would ask me questions about tickets or, hey, my main entrance pass, is it going to expire this? So I get questions backstage and on stage. Yeah. So I always tell my cast members, no matter what, you always are going to have to look the part. Even if you're backstage and you feel like you want to untuck your shirt and unbutton your plaid, you're going to be representing guest relations. So you always want to look on your tip-top shape because you are representing Disney excellence. So that was a tough role. Yeah.
Can we take a moment to talk about how amazing Disney MGM Studios was when it first opened?
Oh, yeah.
There was such cool thing. Like, I just remember going and experiencing the, I don't know, there was like some sort of not backlot tour, but kind of I don't know if that's what it was called, but there were so many cool things.
Yeah,
it's changed quite a bit. Cool. Yep, it's changed quite a bit, but it was so neat.
It was so cool. Like, one of my dreams of working at Disney MGM Studios was because of the Mickey Mouse Club. I wanted to be a Mickey Mouse Club Musketeer back then, right? So that was my dream. So being able to see the soundstage where they have Toy Story Mania now is, I always tell people that's where Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera got their start, was in the Toy Story Mania building.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember when I had Christina Aguilera on tour once and I told her, that's the building you got your start in. And she was laughing. She goes, it is? I'm like, yeah. But
looks a little different now.
It's a little different. Yeah. And even back in the day at Disney MGM Studios, you go to the cafeteria called Take 5 Cafeteria. You would see celebrities in there eating because they were taking a break from filming backstage, because the sound stages had commercials. I would watch Jim Henson's Muppets being filmed.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah. I even once saw Billy Joel singing, or was Phil Collins. He was singing sound recording in that studio there in one of the sound stages. Yeah, but to know that it's turned into a theme park now more than a sound studio, it was cool. It was like the golden age of Hollywood. And every week we would have celebrities that would do parades down Hollywood Boulevard on the Corvettes or their Cadillac cars, and they would come to guest relations to get ready first because we had this VIP room. Do y'all know there's a VIP room in every guest relations?
No.
You know that? No. So there's a VIP room where we call it VIP room. Some people call it the quiet corner, and that's where celebrities would go back in the day to get ready before getting on stage. At Magic Kingdom, they have it behind the desk. It's pretty much a place to diffuse situations. So if a guest is a little bit more loud than normal and vocal, then we would take him in the back and kind of diffuse the situation back there. So it's kind of like the VIP room where we kind of we use it sometimes for prayer. So if guests need to pray because of a certain sun goes to a certain direction, then we have to let them go and pray in there. We utilize our room if someone says, hey, I have a conference call. Is there a quiet place? And if it's not utilized, I can put people in that place to use it for conference calls.
Very versatile.
Yes, and we use that place a lot for children who are separated from their parents.
Oh, sure.
It's lost parent situation. So the parents are lost, so the kids are found. So we have to open up the doors to make sure that, that it's safe for the child and that's not locked up in there. And a fun fact, though, even if we have a child that's lost and they're under 12, we have to keep them, but we can't feed them anything but bottled water because we don't know if they're allergic to anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have to be very neutral. I remember this one time, though. I think it was an 8-year-old. He was lost. We found him. We tried to entertain him. After 3 hours, we're like, you know what? We're just going to make a judgment call. And we're going to have him and 2 other cast members go on a ride together. So from being bored. Because he's still on vacation, even though he's just sitting there, And so I felt bad. After a couple of hours, we did some research. And then, I was looking to see maybe the family had a reservation somewhere. I'm like, what are the chances of them eating dinner at a reservation without trying to find their kid? But we called the reservation at Chef Mickey's, and they were there. And I'm like, hey, your kid is lost, right?
Oh, no.
So anyway,
that's what I was going to say. Who loses their kids for hours, and doesn't check guest services? That's crazy.
You never know.
I question people sometimes, but yeah. We had them come over to guest relations to pick her up, and we kind of lectured the mom. I'm like, you shouldn't leave your child like that. But one of them that kind of got to me was, remember back in the day when Toy Story Mania had fast passes and you had to run to the fast pass machines to get, because that was a very coveted item. There was a mom that left her child in the stroller who was 4 years old by herself by the Chinese theater so she can run fast because that stroller was going to slow her down. And then so I went up to the little girl and I was like, hey, where's your mom? And she goes, she went to get Toy Story Fast Passes. And I'm like, oh, well, she shouldn't leave you by yourself. And she said, well, my mom said that if anyone tries to take me, I should scream bloody murder. I'm like, okay. So I got Disney security with me, and I said, Disney security. And I said, you know what, let's take her to guest relations. So we kept her in guest relations where she was safe. And then I went back to find her mom, and I saw her mom looking around the area for her daughter. And I kind of let her look for 10 minutes, let her struggle for a little bit. And then I say, hey, are you looking for your daughter? I'm like, oh, yeah, she's in the front of the park. So anyway, that's one of those interesting stories I have.
I feel like if I lost my child, the first thing I would do is go find a cast member and say,
right,
I lost my child, because they can get on a radio and like the entire park knows that you are looking for a child. Like, why would you just sit and, I mean, obviously
you would think
they do, obviously their mental faculties obviously not working 100% because they left their child alone to go get fast pass tickets. But I have a question. So you were talking about all the stuff you have to learn as a guest relations cast member. How do you start? Like, what is as a trainer, this is a great question for you, because like, how long do you keep someone like reading a book? I don't know what the process is to get a base level of knowledge to be like, okay, you can now start to be in this role.
Funny you should say that, because back before COVID, we had international cast members. So we would recruit one person from Japan, one person from France or Brazil, and they would be cultural representatives. Oh. So, because we needed people as part of the program, and plus, they can speak another language. So if they need someone that was Japanese speaking, they can have that. But then we would hire people that would never know anything about Disney, and we had her expect her to have 2 weeks of training. Here you go.
Yeah.
So I think it's like an ever learning. We can only do so much. We can once you're guest relations, you have to go to 1 or 2 weeks of classes at Disney University. The first day is about learning about guest service, what it's all about. Obviously, they went through traditions first, and then they go to guest services, guest relations. We learn about customer service and how much a guest spends $10,000 on a party of 4 for a 1 week vacation. So we learn about putting ourselves in the guest shoes and kind of like building that foundation. And then from there, we would teach them about conflict resolution, how to speak softer when someone goes louder. So all those type of things. Those are like 3 days of guest conflict and resolution. And then we would teach them about ticketing. And then ticketing would be like how to refund a ticket, how to sell an annual pass, how to refund one, how to upgrade it. So all of that. And then after 2 weeks, you're into the role of guest relations where you're on the job training. And that's where you do a whole week with a trainer. You train them from start to finish every day in the mornings and nights, do lost and found. It's a lot of work. For me personally, I would first day on the job, I would be with them. I would be their safety net. And they had that earning my ears, and they love that. They don't want to take it off at all. Right? I would be like, that's their safety net. Mm-hmm. To this day, I wear mine every day because it helps me to say it's my first day. No, but it's a good safety net. People still wear it. But yeah, you would be their shadow. You would not let them go at all. Like, you would be behind them at all times. And at first I would tell them, all right, you're going to watch me. I'm going to do 5 hours of interaction with the guests. Whatever the guests, I'll take the next guest. We're not sure what they want. Was it ticketing? Was it they're upset about something? Was it because whatever it was? Mm-hmm. So they would watch me. And then every single time I finished with a guest, I would go in the back with my trainee and I would talk to them about the situation. Depending how intricate the situation was, I'll say, okay, now let's role play. How would you handle it? So we kind of do that with almost every guest interaction. And then maybe if I feel comfortable with that person, I would let them try an hour of just me being 2 feet behind them while they try to handle their situations. And then if they're comfortable enough, I'll let them for the rest of the day. But there's some that would be terrified for 3 days. So I would be with them, and then I would gradually let them go and do things on their own. At some points, I would just step like 10 feet away. I'm like, you know what? Sometimes you just got to throw them in the fire, right? Because you learn best on your own. And as guest relations and as Disney cast members, every day is a learning experience. So you're never going to learn everything in 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. We can give you the foundation, but it's up to you whether you want to take it and learn from it. Because even after 23 years in guest relations and VIP tours, I still learn things that I never knew. I was like, oh. So I always reassure cast members, like, you know what? You're never going to learn everything. I still ask questions to this day. And what's great about cast members is that we always go together, we always collaborate, and we always kind of ask each other questions of how would you handle this? And then we kind of get creative on each other's, and then that's how we learn from each other. So yeah, that's how we kind of like help people to get comfortable with where they're at. but it's never ending.
It just
Yeah.
dawned on me that your second college program started with guest relations, and then that's what your career was at Walt Disney World was guest relations, and then eventually the VIP tours, and then training and all that. That's wild that they hit the nail that well on the head for you.
Right.
For your second time around. That's pretty incredible.
Thank you. Well, Disney, thank you. And they have a lot of people, the leaders are very interested to know, like, is this person ready or not? So they kind of like, they kind of give you that process and they won't let you go cold feet. And what's great about Disney is that if you're not enjoying a role, you have a way to just say, you know what, this is not for me. Let's do something else. Because why are you going to give your 100% if you're not going to be happy? So that's why Disney gives you a way of saying, if you're not happy, then try another way. So yeah, they were very supportive in that sense.
Well, we had such a great time talking with Les, and we will continue our conversation with him on next week's episode. Well, you've heard us talk about our great experiences staying at the Howard Johnson Anaheim. Well, we have partnered with them to offer our listeners some cool discounts. Now, normally, weekly tiers can get 15% off their stay. To take advantage of that discount, you usually go to our website, click on the logo, and use the promo code that's on the website for that. But right now, they have a special deal going that if you use the second code that we have on the website, you can get 25% off your stay when you stay 3 or more nights. All you have to do is book this by May 31st of this year to get this deal. 25% off, not bad. So make sure you go to our website, click on the link, and use the code on there to get that deal.
It's okay. I'll be the only weekly tier without an answer. Make sure you send your questions to Producer James or Producer Vern at trivia@DLWeekly.net.
Say good morning, Jose. We're back in our Tiki Room trivia land. How is it feeling, you two?
Of all the trivia lands I've been in, this one I feel the most confident on, / I have a fighting chance of getting more than 1 point. So I'm feeling good right now.
I mean, I feel like I should have done better, but, that's how I feel almost every week.
Hey, last time I was on and did trivia, you went for 4 for 4. So I had to up my game a little bit, but still make sure that Olivia had a fair chance because we want Olivia to come back.
Thank you.
One of these times, Olivia needs to come on with trivia for you or something.
Sounds like a good time. Getting some revenge.
I really thought I was pretty good at trivia, and then I started listening to this podcast, and now every week I'm impressed with how much you all know. It helps me learn more, as we know, every time.
I just want to mention that in our supporter Discord chat, one of the questions, so we have community managers in there and they post some lovely questions, and producer James also does some questions of Character Color Corner, which is pretty good. I would just like to throw in this bonus trivia question for our listeners. I don't know what the answer is, so I'm sorry that you'd have to join the Discord to find out. But today's question was, which of the following was the name of a business that was found in the Hollywood Pictures backlot area of DCA when the park opened? Was it Double Indemnity Insurance, Golden Gate Shoes, GAIT for gate, Dial M for Muscles, or Sunset Clips Salon? And I responded to Kate, who posted that question, well, you finally hit listener trivia submission difficulty. And she said, at least I give you multiple choice so you have a quarter of a chance to get it right.
True.
That's true. Way nicer than I am. But that's how it goes. Without further ado, how about some answers? So, First question from listener Chrissy A. How long was the Tiki Room's original show length, and how long is the current show? The original show had a running time of approximately 17 minutes and 23 seconds. And the current show time runs approximately 12 minutes and 33 seconds. Tay, you are close enough. Take the point.
Oh my gosh, that was so impressive. You crushed it.
These numbers come to me sometimes.
The Disney gods, they put it there. They knew.
Yep. Something. I'm really aware of, like, although I feel like I shouldn't say this because this is just going to bring questions in the future. But I feel like I'm really aware of, like, the length of fireworks spectaculars. Because I always want them to be longer. And also when they've cut them down, like Remember Dreams Come True used to be like 18 minutes or something. And they cut that down to about 14. So that's unfortunate. But anyway.
Yeah. And you were right. You cut a verse out of the Tiki Room. You cut out a whistling verse of Let's All Sing Like the Birdies Sing. And then one of the other songs got cut out as well. I think it was like Bar Corolla or something. Yeah, that's where you can make up like 4.5 minutes of time.
I didn't know that they cut verses out of the other songs.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. See?
I thought they just cut the one song, but that's good to know.
You learned something with it. All right, moving on. Question number 2 was, what type of birds are our hosts, Jose, Michael, Pierre, and Fritz? The answer is they're macaws. I think parrots are technically kinds of macaws, so we're just going to give points all around for this because it feels very fair in terms of technicalities.
I'm on Wikipedia because I was looking up the song name or whatever, and I saw that there's a list of characters, and one of them is macaws, and I clicked on macaws, and it said macaws are a group of New World parrots.
Oh, all right. Also, in total honesty, I would have said macaws because of the song if I had to be more specific. So,
yep. So we go with it, and it's good. So
nice.
Well done. My third question, according to the book Disneyland Detective by Kendra Trahan, don't know, sorry. The cast list features 9 distinct character types in the Enchanted Tiki Room, in addition to 20 assorted tropical birds. It's one of them. Name the character groups. You did pretty good on these, enough to get about half of them right. You have the totem poles, you have the tiki drummers, you have the birds of paradise, aka the plant variety, you have the macaws, the toucans, and then you started talking about the flowers, which are orchids.
Yep, there you go.
You talked about the singing girls. Those are cockatoos.
Ooh.
You missed out on forktails, and the one that
Whatever
I think
the heck
you'll
that
kick
is.
yourselves the most for is the singing masks.
See, I would have thought the masks were part of the totem poles. That's why I didn't think of that.
You'd think so, but nope. Different things. 4 totem poles, 24 singing masks.
Wow.
What was the one right before masks that you said?
The forktails.
Forktails. Is that a plant?
No, those are the small birds.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, the little tiny birds, apparently.
Great.
Yeah. Tons and tons of animatronics all throughout here.
Cockatoos. Okay.
Yep. You were so close on the right track with getting that one too, but how often do you think about those birds, right?
I don't know that much about birds in general, so it's difficult. Or plants.
Yeah.
Also true. Hey, but you pulled out Birds of Paradise as the plant, being very specific. That was very impressive.
It helps when the answers are in the song.
Just take the compliment.
It's also because I think Birds of Paradise are really cool looking, and I'm like, oh, that's what those are called, and it makes me want to have them. But we can't have them in the Midwest because they would freeze and die.
They would. All right. 4th question for you from Ryan J. One of the MC birds has different eyes than the other 3. Which bird is it, and what is different about them? You went with Jose and Michael and talking about different eye colors. Boy, am I ready to surprise you both on this one because it's Pierre, and he has
You rascal, you! Oh,
he has half-closed eyelids.
Okay.
Apparently he's sleepy. I'm not 100% sure on that one.
Fascinating.
But half-closed eyelids, that's the difference to that one.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. And our bonus question this week, do those 4 birds blink? You both said yes, but they don't.
Dang it.
What?
Apparently, they just stare at you the whole time.
Wow.
So,
That seems like, of all the things that they've had, that they've animated, you would think that, because they did the breathing and obviously the beaks and everything, you would think that like the eyelids would be one of those things, but apparently not.
so
Maybe in the next version of the Tiki Room, there'll be blinking
Maybe.
birds.
I heard that they're going to refurbish it, so it'll probably click less.
It's a staring contest you're going to lose, though, so would not recommend it. So shout out to Ryan J. for finding these great trivia questions from the Ken Bruce book, and Chrissy A. for adding to it as well. That was a fun little theme to go through and play along with. So if you listeners have great trivia ideas and questions just like these, send them our way, and then we can stump people like Tag, Olivia, Teresa, and whoever else has the pleasure of coming to Trivia Land. You can do so at our website, dlweekly.net/trivia.
Well, we will be back next week with more Disneyland news and information.
Until then, go out and enjoy the parks.
A special thank you to Sidel for editing the podcast.
Please remain seated until the podcast comes to a complete stop and the doors have opened. Then collect your belongings, watch your head, and step carefully from the episode. On behalf of all of our crew, thanks for traveling with us, and we hope you have a happy and memorable visit here at DL Weekly.
At your job, do you ever have to deal with a nose roller? How about a snub pulley? Well, if you're installing a new conveyor belt system, dealing with the different components can sound like you're speaking a foreign language. Luckily, you've got a team ready to help. Grainger's technical product specialists are fluent in maintenance, repair, and operations. So whenever you want to talk shop, just reach out. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.